ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, with every passing day, I got to tell you, Bears fans, I'm getting overly excited about what is about to take place with the Chicago Bears, and I think you would all agree. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, episode 137 of the Bears Etc. podcast, are brought to you by Miller Lite. Tom, I've been dwelling on this. I've been on the road a lot, so I've been driving a lot of hours. I'm losing my mind in the car, but just contemplating what's been going on. This feels different. Does it feel different for you? We've been through a lot of change in our long time together.
You know, Jeff, I like your excitement because I think a lot of the initial steps have been taken in the right direction. And when you look at where the Bears are going with identifying the head coaching candidate and then him putting together a quality staff, Ryan Poles and his scouting department figuring out who are some key assets in the veteran free agency market that we need to target, and they have gone out and done that. Now here we sit 1 month before the draft, and you know, one thing about football people, it's hard to ignore the draft because there's so many different opinions of the draft, where the teams are going to pick, how they're going to pick, the decisions they're going to make. And then it's kind of a confusing draft because there are no clear-cut Caleb Williams, a guy that's guaranteed above and beyond the rest of being the number one round draft choice. So I still think there's a lot of intrigue that we're going to talk about on these podcasts through the next month.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Without the quarterback, who would be the number one overall pick? Because teams are going to go for quarterbacks. I'm expecting Cam Ward to be the number one pick. I don't think Travis Hunter would be, but maybe it would be in a normal situation if you're just taking who you believe will be the number one impact player. Abdul Carter, Penn State.
You know, I mean, definitely his name is up there for consideration, just like it is for Travis Hunter. If you look at some of the quality offensive linemen in the draft, is there a team out there that's in a desperate need of a protector of their quarterback asset? One of those guys could climb up the ladder. But this is probably the most confusing draft that I've studied in the last 20 or 30 years, just because every time I look at something coming out with their draft point, whatever it is, it's changing in the direction of the picks. And I saw one this morning that the Bears picked Mason Graham at number 10.
That was Mike Tannenbaum.
Yeah, yep. So it's just whatever person that you have respect for or you believe in their investigative background, look at those mock drafts, and maybe that'll tell you where things are going.
That's breadcrumbs, Tom. Breadcrumbs. Follow the breadcrumbs. But you also got to take a look at this. So depending on how things fall in that top 10, obviously, hey, maybe Ryan doesn't even keep the 10th pick. Maybe he moves down. Maybe you don't know. We don't know. But if Team X picks player A, that then will allow Team Y to go and pick player B down the line. It's all based on – it's not going to be the top 10 best players in this draft that will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, in my opinion. It's not going to be. It's going to be the flavor of the day for one of these 10 teams, and that's going to either push somebody down that's going to make it an intriguing decision for Ryan Poles, or allow him to move down further to get a guy that, you know, this is the guy we really want, so we can get him here. I think that's how this draft is going to fall.
Well, you know, one thing about this draft, there is no defined mathematical equation that can tell you exactly who you're going to pick, why you're going to pick them, and the number associated to the reason you're picking them. Because when you look at all these mock drafts, and like I said, maybe I've looked at 30 different drafts since the end of the NFL season to right where we are right now, a month before the draft. And I've seen Shedeur Sanders go from 3 to 20.
Yeah.
And everywhere in between. So when you have a player that one time was thought of possibly the first pick in the draft, now sinking down into the mid to late teens to early 20s, it's just, you know, every every ball is in the air. If you're a juggler, man, you got to pay attention to everyone. There may be one added into the hand that you have to be able to absorb. And so, like I said, the podcasts are fun, but I think each week there's going to be a different intrigue in the latest mock draft.
Well, I look at two defensive players, two defensive linemen. That could be top 5, or they could be 25. Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M.
Right.
Because he hasn't sacked the quarterback a lot. But, boy, he's got every tool in the shed. He's a monster. James Pierce of Florida. Last year, I was listening to a podcast on the draft from ESPN. I believe it was ESPN, yeah. And James Pierce was considered to be the possible number 1 overall pick in the draft heading into the 2024 college football season, regardless of position. So, but that player may not be in the top 15 or 20. I mean, so I just think it's again, the breadcrumbs, whatever teams are allowing information to escape their building. It is the lying season, of course, and so you just try to put the puzzle together. That's why we love this. We love this. I love the draft. Love.
Well, in 5 years from right now, we're going to be doing a podcast, so we're going to talk about a second rounder in this draft is elevated himself into one of the top picks of the draft. And I think that always goes without saying, and maybe it's a unheralded offensive lineman that's come in drafted in the 3rd round. That's a day 1 starter and goes on to have a lengthy all-pro career, or a defensive lineman like you're talking about. Because Mason Graham, who was picked the 10th for the Bears today, he's a guy that's been picked in the mid-teens. But when you look at his background, his accomplishment, you know, he's going to be a guy that's going to be hard to not to pick if he, you know, is passing the vision of a general manager.
Got to remind you, we're brought to you by PNC Bank, the official bank of the Chicago Bears. We also got a great interview coming up, Tom. Eric Bieniemy, I sat down with him last week at Hallis Hall, the Bears' new running backs coach. He brings the fire. He brings the heat. I love this guy. We'll hear from him in just a moment. But, you know, from the process of hiring Ben Johnson, then to meeting the man and who he's hired on the coaching staff, the moves to get Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson in the trade market, signing Drew Dahlman, Grady Jarrett, just to name a few. The prior moves that had given the Bears this draft capital over the last couple of seasons, the value of that 10th pick, 5 picks in the top 150, 14 additions to the roster already, 9 on offense, 5 on defense, including a newbie, veteran cornerback Nick McLeod coming aboard on a 1-year deal, played with the Giants and 49ers last season. Speedy, ran a 4.46, half his snaps special teams, half on defense last year for the Giants in San Francisco. He was an undrafted free agent. So I just, that's why I feel I got, you know, again, being in the car for 10 hours yesterday, driving down to South Florida, I just started going over this in my mind, and I just became very intrigued. And then to think about what Ben's going to create, what Dennis Allen's going to create. We really haven't talked about that, and I want to talk about that a little bit on this podcast, but I'm feeling you share the same optimism, especially with what's been done in the trenches.
Oh, I do. And I'm sure that you're the type of driver that keeps your blinker on too long because you're not paying attention that you've already changed lane and it's on for another couple miles.
Time out.
Because I know
Don't lose
that you're
your thought.
so captivated in the thought of football that every other sound you ignore.
Well, but yes, that's exactly what I do. And I don't know why it happens. Why can't I hear the turn signal? Why can't I hear the click, click, click?
Why do you forget your car keys on the desk of a head coach and walk out with somebody else's? But, you know, everything that the Ben Johnson has set his sights on to make sure that this team is improved before they ever take a meeting room or a field, I think is really important. Because when you talk about all those new guys that have been brought aboard, first of all, when you're a player and you walk into your meeting room and you don't know your position coach yet, and they're getting to know you for the first time, everything is even. So this guy doesn't have expectations for you, or he doesn't have disappointment in you already. Everybody is starting off. And then you come into these meeting rooms that you've brought a number of guys aboard, and there's some introductions that have to take place, because even though Grady Jarrett has been around for quite a while and he has the reputation of success that he has, there's some young kids in there that may not know him or may not know what he is able to accomplish. And so all these new pieces that are in place right now, I think it's only going to increase the competition on the practice field, but it's also going to create competition in the meeting rooms. Because when you get asked a question, and a little bit of you talked about with Eric Bieniemy about learning this new terminology, it's new for everybody. So that is a way to compete that, your hand's never in the ground or you're never taking a step forward.
All right, with that being said, Tommy opened the door, so let's kick it open. Sit down with running backs coach Eric Bieniemy. Coach, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you over the years, and I couldn't wait to meet you, honestly.
Well, nice meeting you as well, and it feels good to be a part of this family. I mean, I've had an opportunity to meet a number of people who've worked in this organization or played in this organization, so I'm looking forward to just getting something restarted with the new coaching staff and the new regime and ready to move forward.
Yeah, that's the key. In this sport, you got to move forward. Everything else is history. It does not matter. It does, but it doesn't. And, a new page. But talk about just the intensity, I would imagine, of the offensive coaching staff in particular here with Ben Johnson and bringing in all these different influences. I just got done talking to Press Taylor, for example, and just what those meetings might be like. I mean, because you all come from very significant backgrounds. Most of you have won a lot of games, won Super Bowls in your case.
Coach Ben has done a hell of a job putting together a staff offensively, defensively, obviously special teams-wise. It's good having an opportunity to work collectively with some of these young coaches. We got some brilliant minds, some very, very creative individuals. I'm just looking forward to us getting everything established, making sure that we can get everything on the same page, which we are, and just ironing out all the details, because when it's all said and done with, it's not about all the collective brains, having a brilliant idea about what we can do or what we know. It's about making sure that we can hammer it down so our guys can go out and play more, be as efficient and effective as possible. And so that's what this process is about right now, just making sure that we're all stabilizing and getting on the same page.
And Ben even admitted, I didn't go about this just hiring friends or people I know. There's a couple from Detroit, certainly Antoine Randall, JT Barrett, for example. Is it a cool thing that he did by doing that? Because a lot of coaches do. They feel comfort in people that they trust.
He's done a hell of a job of just going out and finding good people who happen to be very good coaches, who are team guys that get the big picture. So, yes, he's built a diverse staff of people. But on top of that, people that he's not really affiliated with. So he's brought a lot of different minds from different areas just so you can always help yourself to be better in certain areas. So the beauty of it is it's fun because right now we're undefeated.
Oh, yeah. Nobody got a bloody nose yet.
Exactly.
Nobody got any black and blue.
But the beauty of it is it's just listening to all the creative minds and then just really focusing in on some of the things that he has done and has success with at Detroit. And it's been fun learning that system and actually growing in it. And so I'm looking forward to it. This is a brand new journey for me. It's a different language, and I'm enjoying it. And the beauty of it is it just opens up the mind, and it gives you an opportunity for growth.
Oh, that's a great point right there. A new language for you, and you've been in the league a long time, played it at a high level for a long time. Ricky Prohl once told me, and it's been repeated many times, learning a new offense is like learning Chinese in a week. Is time of the essence. I mean, I know there's a long time before kickoff, but not a long time before minicamp and training camp. So do you guys feel the urgency to get this playbook written?
Yes, exactly. I mean, there's a sense of urgency every single day. Every morning we're spending time, about 4 hours of just going through the offense, making sure that we're hammering out all the details, whether it's run game, pass game, different situations that can be presented throughout the course of a game, but just hammering out all the details, making sure that there is a familiarity with it. Now, the beauty of it is not everybody's going to catch on, including myself. That's why we take notes. We detail the notes as much as possible.
So you're going to have to study. You got to study.
Have to study. Yes, you got to take work home. That's the only way that you're going to become efficient and effective, but also, too, give yourself an opportunity to become the expert at what you do. And so you got to take it home because those guys are going to be looking back at me.
Right.
It's my job to make sure I can give them the answers. Now, early on, I may not have all the answers, but I'm going to make sure I find somebody that do.
You've had quite the career. Let's begin at Colorado. You were a hell of a player. I'm a Big 8 guy back in the day.
Here we go.
I'm Iowa State Cyclone.
Okay.
So you're the all-time leading rusher at Colorado, all-time leader in touchdowns. You were third in the Heisman voting during that 1990 national title season. So you learned how to win early, didn't you?
You know what? I'll say this, and bless his soul, Coach Mack,
Yes.
Coach Bill McCartney did a great job of bringing a diverse group of men just to buy into his dream and in his vision. And he gave us an opportunity to be a part of it and buy into his dream. And it's amazing how much success some of those players, including myself, all of us have had, not just on the field, but also off the field. And just having that opportunity just to share that experience, to be a part of a winning team, not just winning on the field, but winning off the field, because the majority of us has been in each other's weddings. We've had, I can't tell you how many times we've been all godparents to certain kids, but it was an unbelievable, amazing opportunity to just grow, but just to be a part of history, because Coach Mack was a brilliant man that cared about his players.
Yeah, just recently passed away,
Yes,
and nobody has ever said anything different than you. Have you adopted kind of his way a little bit in how you treat players?
Well, yes, it's forever. It's all about winning, but it's all about getting to know the people that you're working with. But on top of that, developing the relationships, but and finding out their limits and how to push them and get the very, very best out of them. And like I always tell young men when I'm coaching them, I said, listen, I'm going to coach you hard. I also coach fair. I'm going to be your biggest advocate when you do it the right way, but it ain't personal.
Yeah.
I'm coaching that behavior that you put on tape, because that behavior at some point in time, if it's not done the right way, we can impact a game. We can also cause somebody an injury or whatever. So we want to make sure that we're doing things fundamentally, all right, the right way, but also making sure that we understand that accountability goes a long way in this industry. And if we can be accountable, now we got a chance to grow. Now we have a chance to become a winning organization.
I got to ask you what your definition of hard coaching is, because some players like it, some don't. Some want it, some deal with it. I mean, it's all different across the rainbow.
And it's basically challenging your guys more than anything, just to get the very best out of them. And more than anything, just demanding a certain type of ethic. There's going to be a code in how we handle ourselves. You know, I'm from the old school. I always tell them, if you don't work, you don't eat. All right? And if we're not eating, we're not giving ourselves a chance to be the best that we can be. So it's important that we understand there's going to be an imaginary sign outside that door every single day that says hiring all applicants. Because if we're applying ourselves, that means we're not wasting any opportunities. We have to learn how to make sure that we're not taking anything for granted. And if we're not taking anything for granted, we're doing the very most of it, because now we're learning to make second effort a habit. And if we're playing with that second effort, now we're giving ourselves a chance not only to be the best running back group, but we're giving ourselves a chance to be the best team. Because if we put that infectious behavior on tape, players are going to want to follow that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's any room in your room. I'd like to sign up, because you got me excited right now. I'm literally breaking into a sweat right here. On the roster, as it's currently constituted, guys like Roschon Johnson, guys like DeAndre Swift, Travis Homer re-signed recently. You've had a chance to look at these guys, obviously, but in a different context, different offense. But just your familiarity with the names and the men that they are, how do you feel about this group?
I feel pretty good about the group. I've had an opportunity to watch DeAndre, spent some time with DeAndre when he came out, during the time when he during the draft, so I know all about him. A very, very hard-working kid that doesn't take anything for granted. He loves to work. Now, more than anything, we just got to make sure that he understands that he can find 4.5 in between the tackles, but also hit the home run when he needs to. But he's a great young man that works his tail off. Roschon, young up-and-coming player, big kid, plays hard, doesn't take anything for granted, looking forward to working with him. Travis is by far, first of all, he brings a tremendous amount of energy. He does a hell of a job on special teams. He's a four-phase guy, which you love that about him, because you can't have enough of those team players. And then we got a young kid by the name of Ian who's coming off of
Ian
injury.
Wheeler.
And Ian, just
terrific preseason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he showed flashes. So we want to see exactly what all we can continue to develop with him and see how he grows. So I'm excited about the group.
Nobody's got bigger thighs than Travis Homer. He works on those bad boys.
Easy.
He works on those
Yes,
bad
he
boys.
does.
But does it help you as a coach when, again, players don't know you, they know you by reputation, but, you coached Adrian Peterson, Jamal Charles. I could go down the list. So many great backs. Kareem Hunt. I know I'm missing a few. Maurice Jones-Drew at UCLA. Does that help?
It helps.
Help spread the word? Because all they got to do is pick up a phone. Because everybody knows everybody nowadays.
You know what? It helps. But and I'm not going to have these guys do anything that those guys didn't do. And like I told those guys when I coached them, I'm not going to have you do anything I didn't do. And so my thing is just to make sure that I'm getting the very best out of them, but also, too, challenging myself, making sure that I'm presenting them the right information so they can go out and be as sound and as sharp as they need to be to put their best on tape every single day.
I know it's the era of throwing the football, and everybody loves that, but I have a feeling Bears are going to run the football, too, aren't they now? Right, Eric? Bears are going to run the ball.
I'll say this. We're going to have fun running the football.
Yeah, exactly. I love the idea. All three phases, the mindset that Ben Johnson has kind of cemented here is that we're going to be physical, nasty, and tough. Yes. And not just on offense, and not just running the ball, but three phases. And that excites me in a town like this.
Yes, it's the old NFC North.
Yes.
It's old school.
Black and blue, baby.
Exactly.
Eric, thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you finally. Welcome to Chicago.
I appreciate you having me, and thank you.
All right, I need thoughts from you, Tommy. I wish you were there with me because he had me ready to go. I said it, I literally was breaking out in a sweat. He's got that old school thought that you carry, Tommy.
I like this guy. I like his attitude. I like his reputation that he's developed since he's been a coach in the NFL. The success you talked about that he had at University of Colorado. The seriousness and the work ethic he expects of all of his players. He's become familiar already with the group of talent that he's going to have in the room. He acknowledged the difficulty in learning the terminology, and sometimes there's a chance where you might have to ask a player or another coach a question about what you guys are all learning together. And then player expectations. With Eric Bieniemy, and, Mike Ditka used to say it all the time, and I really enjoyed hearing it out of his mouth. I'm never going to ask you to do anything that I haven't done. And so when Mike Ditka was out practicing for Tom Landry or the other coaches he played for, and, he played in an extreme era.
Coach Hallis.
Yeah, Coach Hallis, but we probably played in a more friendly era. And I think that's the thing about Coach Bieniemy. He's not going to ask his running backs to do something that he's not already done throughout his career. And so I'm super excited to see where he takes that next level of competitiveness, not only at the running back position, but at the offensive line position and the offensive meeting room, because he's got a world of experience at every level of football that you need.
This podcast is brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Let's stick with the theme at running back because there's a bunch of them, and I know you've looked these over as well. The type of back that the Bears may or may not be interested in adding to the stable, given the skill sets of DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, Travis Homer, Ian Wheeler, is there a particular kind of back, a change of pace, a power back? What do you think Ben Johnson could utilize to his advantage and get this offense in a level where you're running the ball efficiently, you're picking up first downs when you need to on third down, and you're making things easier on your quarterback?
I need some lightning.
Okay.
I need the guy that is, once he gets in space, it's a foregone conclusion. You're only reading the back of his jersey until he crosses the goal line. You have a variety of skills in a guy like DeAndre Swift. You have a variety of skills in Roschon Johnson and the other running backs. Is it Ian Wheeler?
Yeah.
The young man that got hurt last year. I really liked him last year, and Travis Homer. But all the other guys they have, and you look at the success that Ben Johnson has in the overall big picture development of his offense, he had thunder and lightning in Detroit with Montgomery and Gibbs. So is there that guy that is that lightning bolt of this offense that can run wheel routes, that can run outside zone plays, that can run away from linebackers or nickel coverage defensive backs and create that that super play for you that only comes with the attachment of world-class speed.
And both those backs up in Detroit catch the football very well. Of course, David Montgomery does, and so does the lightning bolt up there in Detroit. Jahmyr Gibbs, that lightning bolt. So Matt Miller from ESPN, he also does something, NFL Draft Scout, put together the top 5 players at each position, and he broke things down a little bit. So I'm just going to, so he has Ashton Genty from Boise State, number 1, Amarian Hampton, number 2 from North Carolina, Caleb Johnson of Iowa, number 3, and then the 2 Ohio State kids, which we both like, Quinshon Judkins and Trayvon Henderson. Those 2 cats are lightning bolts. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, 100%. You know, one thing, too, about all the Bears running backs right now that they have in-house, they can all catch the ball. So they have a variety of skills. We saw a lot of screens run last year that those guys are capable of running screens and how to read blocks as they maneuver upfield. But then they can also be reliable blockers and outlet receivers on third down. So that's one thing that the skill level that's already in the running back room, as these guys can do everything that's required of them out of 3 downs. But when you talk about that one guy that, you know, sometimes you're kind of taken aback because you see how quick they are. You know, to me, that's the one guy that would really help the room quite a bit.
Yeah, and Matt picks Trayvon Henderson as the number 1 third down back from Ohio State, Jaden Blue of Texas, Trevor Etienne of Georgia, R.J. Harvey, Central Florida, and Donovan Edwards of Michigan, who did not have as big a year last year, but, boy, he was fantastic in his sophomore season. 216 in the fourth quarter against Ohio State with a couple of big touchdown runs. But here's a back for you from Virginia Tech that has my attention, Tom. His name is Bashol Tootin. He was at the Senior Bowl for the national team. Just 21, 5'8 3/4, 211. I don't have his combine numbers here, but elite acceleration and speed. He reached a top speed of 20 miles per hour in college, according to GPS. Great pass catcher as well, but just a lot of explosion in his game. 6.3 yards per carry for his career, and also return kicks. That would be a middle round type of cat, but there's so many in this draft. I mean, we could go down the list.
Maybe you could give me, is Jaden Blue, is he a guy that has unique type of speed? Because I remember seeing one of these guys in the college playoffs in the college system, and I thought it was Blue from Texas that had like edge speed that once he got in the open that he was an uncatchable guy. Maybe I'm just
you're right. 4.38 40 for Jaden Blue at the combine. So yeah,
right. So he's the guy. He's a guy that from the college football season through the combine up until now, you know, he's kind of that lightning bolt guy that if you get him to that outside zone play, and he's always played with a good offensive line at Texas, that you know, he's a type of running back spark that I was also interested in.
Tootin also ran a 4.32.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about, Tommy. I'm picking up what you're laying down. Thank you to our partners, CDW and Lenovo, who make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo. Okay, let's now talk a little defense, if I may, because I'm trying to figure out what exactly Dennis Allen wants. And we think of him as a guy that, you know, he said it, you know, you got to affect the quarterback. You got to affect the quarterback. So you're thinking, okay, is this guy a big blitzer? I know Jim Miller told us from his research that in the top 5 of defensive coordinators who call third-level blitzes from the safeties and corners and whatnot. But you dig in, you know, he blitzed less last year than the Bears did as a team. So he doesn't blitz very much overall. So he relies, according to what I've been digging into, more get there with 4, but he uses a lot of stunts and twists. So this leads me to you as an offensive lineman, and then as you evaluate defensive linemen, is everybody good at it, the twists and stunt? Just because you call one, is the twist and stunt effective based on the technique used or the physical traits of the player doing the twist and stunt?
You know, when you talk about winning a stunt, you know, Grady Jarrett, Odangbo, these guys are really good at it because they have certain tools, the explosiveness and the quickness and the instant earning of leverage by Grady Jarrett, the length and the ability to occupy a lot of space for Odangbo. These guys are really going to be incorporated well with the rest of these guys and the athleticism that the Bears already have. But Steve McMichael always used to talk about it. If you're going to be a really good stunt running team, you're going to have one guy that's supremely unselfish. And he's got to be that type of guy that is able to occupy space and attention and get two offensive linemen out of position. And then those two offensive linemen that are out of position, they don't have the recoverability to take that other looper, that other guy that's coming around on the stunt. And listening to, Hamp and Ming and Richard and all these guys talk about it, because they used to run a lot of stunts and we used to run against them in practice all the time. And it is about, Jeff, you got to have a guy that's unselfish. He knows that he's going to get hit by two guys, but he's also is going to be the reason why Montez Sweat gets a sack, because Grady Jarrett was able to give up his body. And if you go back and you look at some of the highlights of Grady Jarrett throughout his career, he can line up pre-snap that puts two offensive linemen in a really unbalanced power position. And then if he gets one guy out of position, and what out of position I mean is you're not coming back on the same plane. There's an interruption in that plane. Now there's a gap. And all of a sudden, that defensive lineman is able to win it. So unselfishness is a key ingredient if you're going to be a team that runs stunts really well. But one thing about Dennis Allen is I think if you talk about a team, if you're a blitzer, if you're a stunter, what are your vulnerabilities? Is it a guy like Jared Goff that doesn't have great escapability? Is it a guy where there's an offensive lineman that maybe there's a vulnerability in his position and strength? So I do think before we ever say what Dennis Allen is, I think what is he up against?
Mm-hmm. Well, for example, the Bears are going to play Lamar Jackson this year in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, if you stunt a quarterback like that where there is a gap for somebody to get into, that gap is also available to him, though, too, to out-athletic him, right? To out-maneuver him. So are those do you not do those against quarterbacks like that?
Sometimes with a guy like Lamar, as you try to have that pocket that keeps him contained, and you don't give him that escape hatch. And then all of a sudden you try to make him throw the ball because, the profit that he'll get by throwing the ball, if it's a completion, whatever the down and distance is, but it could be an incompletion. It could be a tip ball. It could be an interception. But you just don't want to give consistent escapability for a guy like Lamar, because we've seen what he does, and that's why he's an MVP candidate each and every year. So, he's one of the great ones, but there's a lot of others as well.
If you practice against it every day, this is probably a dumb question, but your offensive linemen, if they're facing those stunts and twists in practice every day during training camp, are they getting better at stopping them? Or and can they be real creative? Can you have a guy like Aaron Donald used to go, he could go through over two gaps to get the stunt finished, and he'd still get there and have the speed and acceleration to put his foot in the dirt and get upfield and get the quarterback.
One thing about offensive line, you got to develop the familiarity and the habits of each of the guys that you play next to, because you got to be able to go to the line of scrimmage and not necessarily yell out what the protection is, but make sure that if a guy comes into the gap, I'm going to be able to pass him off to the center, and I know he's there 100% of the time. And that I got to, as soon as you pass someone off, you got to be ready for who's coming around. And some of the habits that you develop as an offensive line are, you never have to communicate them. You become aware of them when you go to the line of scrimmage, second and long, third and long, and they got the pass rushing group in there that's what they like to do. And if they are running stunts, that's why you practice that period every single day in training camp, because you become familiar with the habits of the guys next to you. And hopefully Caleb becomes more creative with the snap count, because the more creative you can become with the snap count, the more you can create a little tells or signs of exactly where the defensive line's going, or maybe get them a half a second off balance that puts that offensive lineman in a winning position.
Tom, you were big on the offensive line 10-yard splits on the 40-yard dashes at the scouting combine. So, for example, Will Campbell, He led the group. He had a top speed of 16.2 20.47 miles per hour at his 10 yards, and he reached a top speed of 20 miles per hour on his 40 run. That's just one example. Do you also factor in the 10-yard splits for the defensive lineman, or does that matter less to you? What?
Oh, no, it matters to me equally
okay.
as much.
Yeah.
Because when you think of the explosiveness and, let's, take two guys, you can take a guy like Andrew Billings, or you could take a guy like Aaron Donald and then look at what and Andrew Billings is a weight room guy, so I expect him to be explosive. But the body size of two different types of defensive linemen, that's why you have a 3 technique, and that's why you have a nose. That's why you have a defensive end or a 5 technique defensive end. It's because of their initial explosiveness, not only how quickly they get off the ball, but how quickly they disengage from their blocker. And it's just like you talk about the explosiveness of Will Campbell. Redirective power in your feet is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's probably one of the most important elements of sustained success by an offensive lineman.
Why?
Because, first of all, I'm going to come out of my stance and I'm going to have an approach to you. I'm going to have a punch to you on a pass blocking responsibility. That defensive lineman is going to try to swipe my hands. Now, I got to keep my balance, but I also have to redirect my body positioning with power into your position. And so if you're out there and you don't have power in your legs and you don't have bendability, you're going to get pushed backwards into the path of the quarterback. You're going to lose your block and your strength upper body, and then you're going to lose the block more immediately if you can't redirect with power. And so that's one of the things that I always liked about the feat of Will Campbell is, he stays competitive within his assignment because he has the feet that are up to his, capabilities and his expectations.
So in the draft, James Pierce, the Tennessee edge, 156, his 10-yard split. That led all defensive ends and edge rushers. Colin Oliver of Oklahoma State had a 157, and Shamar Stewart of Texas A&M, we talked about him earlier, 158. Those are the only three guys under 1.6 seconds, Tommy. And at defensive tackle, it was an SMU defensive tackle, Jared Harrison Hunt, 169. Georgia defensive tackle, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, 169. And Ty Robinson, who's an excellent athlete from Nebraska, 171. And a local product, Tommy, C.J. West out of Nazareth, 173, the defensive tackle from Indiana. How do those numbers rate for you? Does anything stick out?
All right, immediate comparison to team success. So the Rams went and took 2 defensive linemen last year in the draft. And the one guy you came back bragging from the Senior Bowl that this guy is legit, and when he got to the combine, he was.
Braden Fisk.
If you want, yes, Fisk. So if you want to talk about in comparison, what were their times? And if you ever were able to look up what their times were and what they immediately did to that defense, it'll kind of tell you what these guys should be capable of being because of that 10-yard time.
168 for Braden Fisk.
Okay.
So that falls that falls right in line with what you're saying, Tommy. At defensive tackle, that would be number one at defensive tackle in the 2025 combine if he had participated in the 2025 combine.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the outside rusher that the Rams brought aboard as well, he's another guy that had some super athletic traits. And if you want to talk about outside guys and inside guys, you have comparative analytics there.
That would be the outside linebacker, Jared Verse, his 10-1. 0.60. This podcast is brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Taste like Miller Time Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. And hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. Are aches and pains and injuries keeping you on the sidelines? Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. How's your PT going, Tommy, as your knee replacement reaches, 7-8 weeks ago?
7 weeks ago yesterday. It's going great. Just an everyday process. And, it's, a lot of times they tell you about a positive mental attitude. And there's never been more true about the lingering rehabilitation process of a knee replacement. So I'm all good, super positive, ready to roll.
Has it made you ready to hit? Tough and ready to go?
Yeah.
At least on the board. You'll be on the board. You going to be on that board in a month?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I respect the guys too much that are on the board and what they're about to undertake.
No, I'm talking about the surfboard, the longboard.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Tommy. I lost you there.
I would thought you were joking about being on the big board.
No, the only board. There's only one board you would be on. Not in a boardroom, but a board on the water. So I expect that to happen, Tommy. Hey, we got to do a shout-out and congratulations. Welcome to Chicago. Laura Anderson, Senior Vice President of Administration and Chief Financial Officer, joining the Bears from the Big Ten, where she worked for 7 years, Chicago native, Illinois grad. So welcome to the franchise, Laura Anderson. We'll see you up at Hallis Hall. You got any final thoughts before we break for the week?
No, not really. Like I said, I'm interested every day to do a little bit more research about the draft anticipation. Now that these guys are going through a lot of pro days, and you see that Cam Ward had 90 guys at his pro day yesterday, when there's only going to be one team that has the opportunity to pick them. And it's something that, I came from a year that we didn't have pro days. We went to the combines and that was it. And so,
would you have benched at the combine and the pro day if you were just knowing who you are? Would you have done it both times, or would you been satisfied? Yeah,
Heck, no. You want to watch me bench? Come in and let's go in the weight room. Put it, get a belt on and let's rock and roll.
We got to wrap this up, but do you have a story about somebody that was like challenging you and you blew their mind with how many reps you threw up? Or just wait. I mean, at any point, because I would dare say you were one cocky weightlifter because you could do it.
The first time that we were down in Tampa Bay, there was an offensive guard that I was spotting, and he was an All-American, and he only did like 3 reps. And I picked it off of him, and I said, "Hey, are you all right? Is something wrong?" He goes, "Oh no, Tom, I ain't much of a weightlifter." And right there, I go, "Let me at it. Let's roll."
Right.
And I thought that I really would do it enough to impress him, but he ended up getting drafted in the second round. Got injured during training camp, never really played, and I think weightlifting was an important part of his inability to hold up to the physical requirements of the job.
Interesting. Always have a story. Appreciate it, buddy. Special thanks to our guest, Eric Bieniemy, the Bears' new running back coach. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.